Welcome to the U World Order Showcase Program, the platform dedicated to highlighting visionary entrepreneurs and coaches who are shaping the U World economy. Each week, we're celebrating the power of the individual and coming together to uplift and empower one another to reach new heights of growth and prosperity as we showcase a coach, company, or entrepreneur stepping out to be the change they want to see in the world. With our collective efforts, we're creating a world where every person has the tools to realize their full potential and thrive like never before. Join us today as we chat with this week's guest to learn how they got started, what they're doing, and how they're making a difference in shaping the U World Order.
Hello, dear friends and fellow builders of the U World Order. I'd like to introduce our next guest, Jennie Eberts. She's a financial expert and superhero to busy moms and mompreneurs everywhere. With her CPA and MBA credentials, she knows how to help people stop living paycheck to paycheck and achieve financial freedom. Having personally overcome 6 figures worth of debt and now having built 6 figures in the bank, she understands the stress and burden that comes with debt and the freedom that comes with financial security. Her mission is to help busy, badass moms like you and mompreneurs achieve financial peace of mind without sacrificing what matters most to them. As a certified life coach, Jennie supports and guides her clients to create a plan that will help them achieve their financial goals and leave a legacy of financial freedom for their children. Please welcome our guest who's here to share her wisdom and help us all crush financial stress and stop living paycheck to paycheck as her contribution to the U World Order. Hi, Jennie. Welcome. You have such an impressive background, I have to say. Can you share your story with us?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I had no idea what I wanted to do in life. I knew I wanted to go to college and took my first accounting class. And I was like, oh my God, this is so me. And went to school. I paid my way through school. Didn't grow up with money. I grew up with a single mom that lived paycheck to paycheck. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I learned from her is shopping made you feel good. Getting out and shopping. I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was a time that we really connected with one another. And it didn't matter if we had money. You just put it on credit and you dealt with it later. So I count it. I'm pretty much in a high, position role because I worked my way through school. So, I was climbing the corporate ladder and maintaining big budgets and forecasting. And I understood how money worked, but I had a secret. I didn't maintain my own money. And I found relief from myself by shopping. I mean, because that's what I knew. I knew that shopping made me feel better. It gave me time to get away from myself. And so I just spent money I didn't have. And one day, I was in control of the finances in our marriage because, I'm the accountant. I'm the one that manages money. And it just seemed like one day we couldn't pay for anything. I mean, it was like, I have nothing. And I sat my husband down and I'm like, we're broke. And he's like, what do you mean we're broke? We're both doing very well. And I had to confess that, yeah, I've charged up every credit card and we were easily $100,000 in debt.
That's got to be heartbreaking to just be faced with that reality. So what did you do?
Well, after I gave him some space to calm down, We sat down and we did it the absolute hardest way you could possibly get out of debt. And I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. But we sat down with all of our expenses and said, what can we cut? And we came up with $100. And we literally lived on about $10 a week for groceries. Now, this was back, 20
when $10 a week actually bought you something at the grocery store.
Right. But I mean, I clipped coupons. I made sure I went, triple coupon days. I mean, we figured it out. And once we got some momentum going and started paying some stuff off and started getting money in the bank, the relief of having money in the bank versus just spending money was night and day. And that's what I am so passionate about sharing with people, because even though you're getting that momentary relief, buying that pair of shoes or whatever it is that you're doing, that feeling, that short time feeling of buying something versus looking at your bank account and seeing that you have money, it's so much better and it's easier. It's an easier life. So much easier.
From slavery to freedom. They call it wage slaves because you're indentured to working. You don't have any choice. You must work. Yes. You have no freedom. If you can't go to work and you can't get a paycheck, you're going to go under. Yeah. You could be homeless. It happens to people all the time. And it's a slow slide, and then it's all at once.
Yeah, it seems like you wake up and it's just there. And it's like no. But in just a little bit more of my backstory, I did it 3 times.
Oh my God.
The first 2 times, we took out consolidation loans. So it was almost like I got a quick fix. And it wasn't until I understood why I kept overspending that I didn't change the behavior. And it was figuring out, it's kind of like I compare it to going on a diet. We all can go on a fad diet and cut all the goodies out of our life and get some immediate gratification of losing some weight. But then when you get tired of cutting all your favorites out and you're left with you go right back to what you were doing. So it wasn't until I figured out why. And it was because I'm a perfectionist and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and to just get some relief, it's easier to get away from myself going, oh, isn't this a pretty blouse? Instead of dealing with me. And so it wasn't until, and the first time I went to him, we were maybe 20,000 in debt, which is a lot. I'm not trying to say it's not. Then the second time I went to him, it was like 40,000. And then the last time I really tried to, I was like, I can't go to him again. And he was like, enough, we're going to have to figure this out.
How painful. Really. So you were talking a little bit before we started recording this about the dangers of what you're leaving to your children if you don't get this under control. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah. So my mom, I learned a lot of my money habits from my mother, which is very common. We have all these money beliefs based on what we grew up with. And once I realized, having money in the bank is so much better than the way that I was living, I started trying to help my mom. And she had come to us to borrow some money. She had paid off her house and she couldn't come up with property tax money. And I said, okay, I will loan you the money, but we need to sit down and look at where you're at, and let's figure this out so we're not here next year. And she drug her feet, and she unexpectedly passed away about a year or two later from that original conversation. And I was always on her. Well, in those 2 years, she had taken out a mortgage, an equity loan off of her home, and was heavily in debt. I mean, heavily in debt. And she had, unexpectedly, we're standing in the ICU, and they're telling me, we need to turn the machines off. And instead of that moment of being sad or of realizing what I was signing to do, I was mad and I was scared, because it was like, how could you have? I didn't understand how bad it was, but I knew there was debt. And I was just standing there going, how am I going to tell my husband we have debt again? And what are we going to do? And looking back on that moment, it was like, she didn't do it to me on purpose.
Nobody does.
I know. Yeah, I know. I think there's a misconception that when we die, our debt goes with us, and that's not true. It does become part of the estate, and somebody has to deal with that. And so the 2 years after my mother died, I didn't really get to mourn, because I was in probate and I was dealing with life with her not here. And it wasn't until after the estate was actually settled that I got to really sit down and go, wow, I don't have my mom here anymore. And that's what's really driving my cause, because as moms, that's the absolute last thing we want to do. We do not want to burden our children. And
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people when it comes to that? Maybe talking with your own kids or your parents, because a lot of us have older parents, and
yes,
some of us just really aren't sure where they are financially.
Yeah. And, like, our parents don't want to sit down and talk about that day, or it's none of our business, or, whatever. But it's a conversation that you have to have. I mean, if nothing else, you need to know where their wills are. I mean, you should have seen me trying to find her will. And it was in her kitchen pantry, which is not where I would have put the will to begin with, Yeah, I mean, you need to sit your parents down and say, who's the executor? Where are you? Do you have life insurance? All of those questions need to be asked. And then for us, this new generation, we need to be open to talking to our children when they're old enough, how this works, what's set up, maybe setting up a binder that has all the information in it. I mean, there's a lot of different options that you can do.
And people could learn about those sort of things from you.
Sure. I mean, I haven't, until we started talking, I didn't know if there was a need. I was more focused on helping people get out of debt. But if there's a need, absolutely, I'd be honored to help people step through that part of, it's a part of life that's going to come. So
it's going to hit all of us. And, I talk to people all the time. In fact, my son's in-laws, they live like 2 doors down from us. It's a really small community. Anyway, his parents died like within 2 weeks of each other in February. And they had their will in a safe, but no one knew the combination to the safe. So they couldn't get to the will. And there were 4 kids, and all of the assets got divvied up, and it was kind of a nightmare. It was a terrible situation because they couldn't get into the safe to get to the will. I mean, These kinds of things happen so often.
Yes. Yes. And I have a friend that lost her husband during COVID, and I live in Texas. It's a community property state.
Mhm.
And so I just believed, the surviving spouse automatically gets half, the other half of what they own. No, she had to go through, she had to probate and fight for what her and her husband bought together and prove that she was the rightful heir to all their assets. And I was like, that's crazy. So they were 50s, didn't expect that he was going to pass. Nobody knew this pandemic was coming. And she ended up having to go through probate after losing her husband to COVID. And it was
And
like,
it's so expensive and it takes so long. And nobody learns about these things in school. You would think there would be like a class on taxes, a class on, preparing for death, something that's going to happen to all of us.
no,
Let's get the elephant out in the middle of the room where it belongs and talk about it. But no, we're
yes.
not going to do that.
Well, I mean, we don't even teach money in school. I mean, they're starting to. I know that like my daughter went through a Dave Ramsey,
Mhm.
and Dave Ramsey's wonderful and he's helped a lot of people,
He
but
really
I don't
has.
necessarily agree. I don't agree there's a one solution fits all problem.
Mhm.
I think everybody's circumstances are unique. And I think you have to build a unique plan to serve, to serve what you want in life. And it can't just be, step one is this, step two is this. There's kind of a broad overview, but it needs to be tweaked for your circumstance.
I think I was asking you early on when we first met, is there a way to do this where you're not like having to give up everything in your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it all comes down to planning. I mean, so coffee gets a bad rap, right? I mean, everybody says you got to ditch your coffee. Well, stopping and getting coffee every morning did not get you in debt. But the key is to plan. I mean, you get your paycheck or however you get your money, and you plan it. You assign every dollar to have a purpose. And if you spend $100 on coffee a month and you love that, then plan it. I mean, if you take everything away, which is the way that my husband and I did, I mean, we took everything away. There was no joy in our, we sat and looked at each other mad for about 3 months. And then that is not the way to do it. And you can do it in other ways. So no, you don't you sacrifice what you choose to sacrifice.
That's good to know. I think part of the reason that people are just like, they're going to put their blinders on when they're in debt is that it's just so painful. And the idea, it's like dieting,
Yeah.
I know I need to do this, but, I just won't look at the scale. Problem solved. Wear baggy
Right.
dresses. Nobody will ever know.
Right.
Just look at this part in the mirror.
Yeah. You're
So
still in the back of your mind, you're dealing with it, right? I mean,
you are.
you never escape it. And if that's how you want to live, I mean, you got it. But if you want to
Doesn't
feel
work as a long-term solution, though.
Because it's always there. I mean, it's always in the back of your mind. Because I can remember, I was in my 20s then, and it'd be like everybody's going out tonight, and it'd be like, oh, I really can't afford this. But so it's always there, always there.
And it limits your opportunities to participate in things or to invest in things. There might be something really cool that comes along that you could get in the front of and actually make money doing it. But if you're so far in debt, it really limits your opportunities.
Yeah. Well, and you lose sleep. I can
It
remember
affects your health.
I can remember laying in bed going, I need to be working, maybe I should be working right now. And, you're trying to find ways of trying to get ahead of it. And and the more miserable you are, the more you fall back into your bad patterns. And so it's just this vicious cycle that it just doesn't seem like you can ever get out of it. So I believe in small changes. It's kind of like dieting, because I think we've all dieted. So I don't believe in cleaning out the whole pantry and starting over. I believe in very small steps, small changes, get some momentum going. And before you know it, you're doing more than you even expected you'd ever do.
Mm-hmm. It makes it easier that way.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jennie, it's been really great chatting with you about all of this. Is there one thing that you would really like to leave our listeners with?
I have a 30-day find money challenge that I would love for your listeners to come and join us in it. Everyone has found over $100 of more than $100 actually, but I advertise, let's see if we can find $100, because that's where I started in my debt journey, as I tried to find $100. And it's 30 days of emails where I give small tasks, and you start opening your mind up to the possibilities. And I'd love to invite everyone to go through it. It's free, and I'm here to help and support and ask any questions that anybody has.
That is great. I think that will help people a lot. Just starting out with something small that you can put towards your debt to start shrinking it down. And, just those little bits of momentum.
Yeah.
Just make a huge difference. Just form the snowball and then push it gently.
That's right. Small changes. And with me even being the money guru that I am, when I went through it, we found $10,000 a year that we were just throwing out the window. But it's the little charges, the $9 and the 99 cents and the kids and this. And it's just getting in there and looking and understanding what you're spending your money on. That's really all it is.
And being diligent about going back through every 6 months or so and relooking, because those little things, they add up and you forget about them, but they're not forgetting about you. They'll hit your bank account.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So I'll send you that link, and then you can post it when you
put it in the description, and we'll get people to sign up for that and help them find at least $100, which is great.
Yeah.
$100 raise.
That's right. Without doing much.
It's been great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the You World Order Showcase program. We hope today's episode has inspired you to consider how you can leverage your unique skills and talents to be the change you want to see in the world. If you're ready to take the next step and turn your passion into a 5-figure part-time business, we invite you to schedule a private consult at heartlifecoach.com. During our Passion to Profit Breakthrough session, we'll work together to identify your strengths, clarify your vision, and develop a tailored plan for achieving your goals. Don't settle for mediocrity or let fear hold you back from pursuing your dreams. With the right guidance and support, you can build a thriving business that brings you joy, financial freedom, and the opportunity to make a positive impact in the world. Head over to heartlifecoach.com today to schedule your Passion to Profit Breakthrough session and take the first step towards creating the life you've always wanted. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the You World Order Showcase program.